Hello there. Chess.com recently added a new feature to the site that allows you to estimate your elo based on the results of only one single game. But I wanted to know, how accurate was it? Could they accurately rate their own bots? And so I sat down and I played 4 games against Chess.com bots ranging from 250 to 3200 rated. And we're going to see, what does Chess.com think those bots are rated? Let's get into it. The first game was against Martin. Start out, keep it simple, knight f3, normal stuff. You know, he's going for a bit of a small center here. We're not going to worry too much about the opening because it's a 250 rated bot, you know. You're going to play normal stuff, and it's going to do some weird stuff. You're going to push a pawn. It's going to hang a knight in one move, you know. This is the kind of stuff we expect from Martin. We love him. He's doing his best. And the game's over, basically. You know, I'm just going to harass his queen a little bit. There's not too much to say about this game. I just kind of bullied his queen. There is one interesting thing here, kind of. I did allow him to capture this pawn because there's a lot of annoying things here. After this move, it's actually really hard to hold on to the queen because if you go to a3, we then have knight b5 forking the rook and the queen. So this actually gets very unpleasant no matter what. However, Martin, Gotham Chess Enjoyer, he goes for danger levels, threatens my rook. Unfortunately, a queen is still worth more than a rook. I just take the queen and he forgets that he put his pawn there. And I just take everything. Back up so I don't lose my rook now that I've taken everything. And the rest of the game, there's not too much to see here. We just kind of blitz out some moves. It's mate in a couple. It's a 250 rated bot. I'm not sure what we were expecting here. Find mate in a couple, and there we go. So what did chess.com think of this? What did chess.com think its 250 rated bot was? Well, it said that I was rated about 850 based on this game, and it said that Martin rated about 350. So, you know, Martin's gained 100 elo here. He's slightly higher rated than he was before, but that's pretty accurate, I would say. I would say 350 on a 250 bot, not a bad estimation. So let's get into our second game. What did it think of Nelson? He is a wall for a lot of beginner players, likes to play with his queen a lot, and we're going to let him do whatever he wants. We're going to see what chess.com thinks of Nelson. What does it think of this aggressive queen play? Obviously, he's going to be bringing out his queen very quickly, and very quickly it's going to be a bad idea. We're going to bring our knight out, harass his queen, bring our bishop out, keep harassing his queen, and this is what happens when you bring your queen out early. It can become a very easy target for development. And as you can see, black just has developed everything. We're already winning. And I usually play the King's Indian, which is why I played this. It's not the most accurate thing in the world. I'm supposed to keep developing my knight over this way. Maybe I'll bring my bishop this way. Who knows? It doesn't matter too much at this point. Black's already completely winning with the queen just very awkwardly placed. I can finish my development. I castle. And there is actually apparently a missed win here. Apparently I wanted to play d5. Sure. I mean, it's -2 here. It's -2. I could have played d5 here and been -3. It's not a huge deal. Let's see if that really costs me in the end. But I wanted to bring my knight out. You know, this is a very common idea. When the queen is placed here in a scholar's mate type position, this knight comes out. It'll go to d4. It's threatening to fork the king and the rook. It's threatening the queen. Queen is forced all the way back to d1. It's just miserable to be white here. And you really don't want to be bringing your queen out that early. And plays the best move. To his credit, Nelson playing the best move here. Now, this wasn't the best move, but like I said, it forced the queen back. And we've essentially negated his early queen play. Now here I got a little aggressive. I wanted to just bring my pawn up, try to bully his knight away, just get really annoying, you know? Just get in there, be a jerk. And he let me, he blocked me. I let him block me. This wasn't the most active thing I could have done. I don't really remember what I was thinking here. But then here, very simple idea. I want the pawn. He's going to hold on to it. I'm going to keep going after it. And he gives me the pawn. I'll take it. I'm very confident in my ability to win this, so I just trade the pieces off and start trying to break open the center. I went here because instead of trading and removing his castling rights, I wanted to make him take me, open up this pawn, and I felt that this would be a nice pawn to have. The computer disagrees. The computer thinks I should have just taken. Understandable, perfectly reasonable. But I get what I wanted. It's not maybe what I should have wanted, but it is what I wanted. And my idea was some sort of ideas on diagonal. Obviously, it's very easy to get out of the way of that. But from here, I'm just going to try to push my pawns, try to break through, trade some pieces. It's pretty equal, but black is actually just completely winning anyway. Despite material being entirely equal. There's a hanging pawn over here. There's this pawn that became as much of a monster as I thought it would be. And it's just really hard to stop, you know? This bishop's going to come harass the rook. This guy's going to come try to stop. I'm going to take the rook. And I've got a pawn on c2. It's hard to be sad when you've got a pawn on c2 as black. You know, life is just good. Go harass the rook a little bit. I decided to start trying to bring a pawn, try to break this out, because I felt, you know, my knight could be pretty easily trapped here. I thought, you know, it's covered here, it's covered here, this is covered, this is covered. What's stopping him from playing this? Apparently it wasn't that big of a deal. Understandable, honestly, because there's this, right? I can dislodge the bishop, even if he does come to try to take my knight. I'm going to force him to move the bishop. I'll promote my pawn. He'll have to take back. I'll take his bishop. It's an even trade, but since I'm already up material, that would have been good for me. That's not what I played. It's okay. I'm bringing my other pawn. And here I decided to cut his king off. Sure, it loses a pawn, but there's this now. Now I just have another target for that pawn to push against, and he can't really stop me. There's really not any stopping me here. I'm going to win everything. I'm going to push up the board, and that's exactly what happens. His king is cut off on the back rank. He can't stop me from getting in. I don't even have to promote. This is just mate. So, all in all, not a bad game from Nelson. Not my best game. But what did chess.com think? What did chess.com think the ratings were of 15? That's not 1500. Sorry, I misread. That's a 1300 rated bot. What did chess.com think of its 1300 rated bot? It thought that I played like a 1500, and it called Nelson 1150. So instead of being a little overrated, like our 250 friend, he's actually a little underrated this time. So maybe chess.com, not a huge fan of all the random queen attacks going on in the early game. But again, not too far off. You know, it was off by 100 points in the first one, off by 150 this time. It's pretty reasonable so far. Now, it is putting my rating all over the place, but we'll see what the trend continues like. For our third game, I picked Xavier. Now, I didn't really know who to pick for the higher rated bots, but I wanted to pick something that I felt reasonably confident would give a funny game. And Xavier, it listed him as being a very aggressive, sacrificial player. And I thought, all right, this is a great time to test how chess.com is going to evaluate a bot trying to play with sacrifices for aggression. So we picked him. And this is going to be more of a high-level game than the others. There's a lot less random queen moves, random blunders. So we keep it simple. This is what I play every game. Book moves, normal stuff. And I always think this is a bit lame. We're just going to start trading pieces like this. And, you know, this isn't the most accurate thing. You're supposed to go back to d6, have ideas of targeting this. You're going to maybe bring a knight out here. You're going to play c5. Who knows? It invites a lot of trades. And as soon as he moves his queen, we saw this earlier, the same pawn becomes a target for the knight. And it happens again. He's trying to get aggressive on me. I don't hate it, but it does allow this. And this obviously does defend it, but unfortunately, it invites this bishop move, which, by the way, isn't even the best move because now there's this. And even though I can then move my knight out of the way, his queen is still very annoyingly placed. I don't lose a rook, but it's a bit annoying. He misses it. You know, what are we going to do? It's a 1900 bot. They're not always going to play the best move. So I take this. I take the fork. I thought for a little bit about this. I wanted to see if there was maybe something I could do against the queen. Decided to keep it simple. Take the rook. Fantastic. And we don't hang our bishop. Now our knight's a little stuck. I decided that I wanted to try to save my knight. Well, not save the knight. I wanted to get something for him because I thought, you know, he's going to develop his bishop. He'll develop this knight. And then he'll take my knight. And that's not the worst thing. It takes him 3 moves, puts his rook somewhere awkward, but I wanted to at least get a pawn for it. Computer wasn't a huge fan, but it's okay. Black is still totally winning here. And, you know, these pawns are getting a little far forwards. I tried to harass it a little bit, try to force him forwards, maybe put some pressure on this. I still haven't developed this knight. I still haven't castled. I've been putting off castling. Maybe there'll be some ideas here later, but it is finally time. It is finally time. If he goes here, I'll push this pawn. We're totally safe. His bishop is behind his queen, so there's no trades here. It's an awkward position to play as white, honestly. And especially with his king and his queen on the same line here, if I ever can open this up, this is going to be absolutely devastating. It's going to be a huge attack for black, and I don't even need to worry about the weakness of my own king. So he, to his credit, does get out of the way immediately. And there's a bunch of ideas here, but my main thought process here, I want to get rid of this pawn. If this pawn is allowed to sit here forever, it's going to be very, very annoying. Obviously, it can push forwards here, but what I wanted to do, I wanted to go after this pawn. I wanted to bring my knight out, go after this pawn, and just have a lot of pressure here. And I thought, this will be good. And the computer thinks I'm right. As long as I don't allow this pawn forwards, it's going to be okay. Now, I could have apparently taken it here. I didn't see that. I didn't see I could take that. But apparently, after this, somehow I'm okay. What is the line? Not that. That's not the line. That is not it at all. Knight takes e3, and what am I supposed to do? Queen takes d6. Ah, I take on d6. And apparently that's just better. I mean, come on. That's a little bit better. I'm not going to trade a knight for 2 pawns, no matter what the engine says about it. I'm keeping it easier. I'm not really sure what this was, but I do eventually get to the queen trade. Computer wasn't a huge fan of it. I like it. I'm up a little bit of material here. So we're going to trade pieces, trade queens. No chances of me losing. Blockade the pawn, go after the bishop. And, you know, at this point, life is just good as black. There's not too much to worry about. We're going to push this, allow the forced move on passant, because now I can open up my own rook. And there has been this pawn hanging for a few moves, actually. Ever since this knight moved, this has been a weakness. But there's a reason that I have not been trying to defend this. The problem with trying to defend this is that if I ever do play rook b8, I've defended this pawn, but I've given up this pawn. And sure, I could go here, but I've already lost the pawn. There's no real need to allow this, right? Like, this is a little excessive. So instead of that, I just don't try to hold on to this. I obviously can't push it either, or I'll hang my own rook. So I just don't worry about it. I just try to play somewhere else. It works out. We get a little bit of pressure here. I'm trying to go after this pawn, trying to boot this knight away, only defender of the pawn. Fantastic. I pick it up. And now white is out of play. There is almost nothing here for white to do. Black is -5. Sure, this pawn is hanging. Sure, this pawn is also going to hang after that. And that's exactly what happens. This is defended for now. Sorry, it's not hanging yet. But it's going to get annoying. It's going to get annoying. Trade the rooks. And here, I make a mistake. Knight f6 blunders a draw. Because after bishop c4 check, king f8, sorry, king h8, and whatever, knight d6, this is a perpetual. I believe this is perpetual. Is this the issue? I think this is the situation, right? King takes f3. I'm just delaying at this point. And yeah, rook b8, knight f7 check. And there you go. What am I going to do? King g8, knight e5 check. Sure, I can go king f8. But if I go king f8, the problem now, bishop c5 check, it doesn't stop. What happens if I go king e8, only move? It doesn't stop. Bishop f7 check, protected by the knight. There's no escaping this. It looks like you almost can. You can't get out of this. It's just nonstop. So I didn't see that. Needless to say, I did not see that. And the computer found the check. It did find it, but it did not find the perpetual. So the game continues. Despite blundering a draw in the middle of the game continues. Now I try to kick the knight away. He tries to get a little fancy here. However, this doesn't really work. You know, if I allow him to take, I take his knight. I've gotten 2 knights for a rook. Do simple math. That's 6 points for 5 points. So it's worth it. It's worth it to me. Now he does get a pawn. It's still worth it. I've got this monster passed pawn. Sure, he's got a passed pawn. It's still on the starting square. I'm not worried about it. My bishop can maybe sacrifice for it at some point. Maybe blockade if this gets out of the way. I can even still take it now that I've moved this pawn out of the way. And there's a little bit of shuffling here. I defend my pawn. He takes my pawns. I take his pawn. We trade a little bit. And it's now a bit of a complicated endgame, honestly, because he's got 2 bishops. I've got 2 bishops, but I also have a knight in this passed pawn, and my king is trapped on the edge of the board. And with this, it is very sealed in. You know, every square is covered. My king cannot move. However, his bishops can't go anywhere without letting me out. So what do? I give him some checks, and my goal is to start pushing this pawn. I just want to make a little progress here. I want to get my pawn here. I want to promote. I want to win. He goes after my knight, tries to dislodge the defender. Only move, really. Defends this. Is that the only move? There's other moves. I mean, bishop c5 is also a move here. Also defends the knight. But I mean, this is a little much. You know, pinning your own bishop, pinning your own knight to a bishop in an endgame, probably not what you want to do, even if it is still -2. So instead of that, we go here. We're pushing the pawn. We have to be careful. If his bishop ever trades for this pawn, it's going to be very difficult to actually win this. We'll still be able to be up 3 pieces against 1, which is still maybe winning, but it's a lot more difficult than if we can promote the pawn. So I'm really trying hard not to lose this pawn. I'm trying to reroute my knight, get it around this way. I want to be able to move my bishop again, because back here my bishop was stuck defending this knight. So he goes after this, and I screw up again. It's still slightly winning for black, but it's a draw. It's realistically a draw here. And he finds it. He can actually go here, and now we're going to trade bishops. It's not going to be a sacrifice of a bishop, it's a trade. But there's still tricks here. There's still tricks. I'm going to bring my knight, and he screws up. He doesn't take it. He screws up, doesn't take it, and I am completely winning here. Why am I completely winning? Why does black win this position? Can't he still stop me? I still can't push the pawn. Knight e4 check. Knight e4 check. And you can take it, but that delays for a turn. You can no longer take this pawn. You can no longer take this pawn, and I have enough time to play bishop c3, covering the promotion square, and you cannot stop me anymore. Doesn't matter what you do. You can go here, you can threaten some sort of pin. It does not matter. I don't care. I promote with check. I'm going to pick up all the pieces, and the game is over. The game is over. Xavier, the 1900, has blundered, and we take everything. Simple endgame. Knight move away, queen. Lock him on the edge of the board. Bring the king. Walk on over. And it's checkmate. A much harder game than the other 2 bots. But what did chess.com think? That's the question we're here to ask. It's not about how hard I found it. It's about what chess.com thought. And chess.com thinks that this 1900 rated bot was rated 1700. It does call me 1950. So we're getting a little further away now. The first game we were 100 points off. The second we were 150 off. This game we're 200 points off. And my rating has gone all over the place. It's called me an 850. It's called me a 1500. Now it's calling me a 1950. But these bots are not perfect. We need a bot programmed not to make mistakes, but to play the best moves that it knows how to. And we need to see what chess.com thinks of that. And that is where Komodo 25 comes in. The hardest difficulty bot chess.com has. And oh boy, is this guy a monster. Rated 3200. I did not stand a chance, I'll be honest here. Anyone who says they have a chance, they're lying to you. Very good players could draw. I mean, I'm sure some people out there maybe could win, but I am not one of them. I'm not one of them. So we play some book moves. We're playing theory here. Main line, Turkish defense, Austrian attack. And this is a line that I've been studying recently. Not really so much studying as I know that this is the first move of it. However, unfortunately for me, I forgot the next move and I lost the game. You know, sometimes you play 6 book moves in a row, screw up on the next move, and the position is +1 against a 3200 rated bot. And, you know, it happens to you, it happens to me, it happens to all of us, you know? We're not pro players here. And, I mean, it's not really lost here. Against a human, this is okay. But it's much, much better here to bring your queen this way, pinning this knight, with the idea being that now this pawn is hanging, and you can't take here because then there's this. And now there's pressure here where I'm going to take, I'm hitting your rook. And you've got this very nasty pawn, but it's not really a huge issue. I can get out of the way. I can block it. It gets a little weird. And I'm even threatening to come back and take this pawn too, is the thing. If you unpin yourself, probably not by hanging your queen. If you unpin yourself, maybe you go here. It's going to be a lot more simple than this. This is just bad. This is just bad, and we're going to see why in a second. The problem with this, after white castles, I tried to develop my knight. This right here is the problem. The pawn on d6 was supporting this square. It was kind of preventing this pawn push, and once I take like this, that's not happening anymore. He can push, and my knight can come back, it can go this way, but it doesn't really matter either way. It doesn't have a whole lot of moves. It's very awkwardly placed. Maybe I'm going to have to go f6 to try to push this guy out of the way, but even then, the pawn's going to come forwards. I'm going to be forced even further backwards. I'm going to have to go to the edge of the board, and I'm going to have to go to b4, but you can cover that. My knights are not going to get to play the game, right? That's really the problem. My knights are not going to get to play the game anymore. And I tried to make some counterplay over here. I tried to go after this pawn, and immediately stops that, and I make a mistake again. I missed this entirely. Now, my queen is not trapped here. This is a very nasty move. My queen is not entirely trapped, but it is incredibly ugly because my queen is holding on to this pawn in addition to this knight. But this knight hits my queen. My queen can't retreat. My queen just can't retreat. It could retreat a moment ago. I brought my rook over here to try to put pressure on the queen. It doesn't work. What am I going to do? I'm going to go here. That doesn't work. There's no discovered attack on the queen anymore. I can't do this. If I go here, he'll take here. I take his queen. He takes my rook. I take his knight. Oops, sorry. Those are not arrows. I take his knight. He takes my knight, right? Like, this doesn't work. This no longer works. I can't get fancy here. And so I try to hold on to my queen. You know, best move, don't lose your queen. Generally going to be true. But there's this, right? He can keep harassing me. He can still put pressure on my queen, and I'm running out of moves. I can't go backwards. I can't go to the light square diagonal. I can't stay on this diagonal. I can't go here. Only move that doesn't lose the queen, queen a3. I mean, if you're playing queen a3 and none of the rest of your pieces can move, you're probably either 200 rated or playing against a 3200 rated bot. One of the two. I am playing against a 3200 bot, and it's just as miserable no matter which rating it is. So, again, you know, the knight's just getting in there. I can't dislodge this knight. I can't come backwards. I can't stop it. My queen actually has no moves besides b2, which is just, I mean, this is just a terrible position. And he's coming back. He's harassing the queen again. Now, this does allow this. I can now technically retreat my queen, but I'm walking directly into the line of a discovered attack. And I do this. And here, yeah, this is exactly the problem. This is going to come forward. This is not necessarily the best move. Obviously, this opens up taking that rook, but I'm not even supposed to take that rook. And we're going to see why in a second, but I'm supposed to take this pawn. I'm supposed to take this pawn, ignore the hanging rook, and just move on with life. Because the problem with taking this rook, f7 check. Pawn takes f7 check. And yeah, this is miserable. This is not the best move again. My knight is hanging too. But this is not the best move. But neither is this. Komodo's making mistakes. I'm making mistakes. This is all nasty. It's all very nasty. I take here. I allow this. and it's a discovered attack with check on my queen. I thought this would be okay, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm dead lost, but it's not totally the end of the world, right? It's only a 1 point material difference, despite me being down a queen, and I'm finally kind of unraveling the position, right? I can move my rooks at least. My bishop is very awkward. My knight doesn't really have a whole lot to go on, but it's a little more pleasant for me than it was a few moves ago, right? My queen was being harassed on the edge of the board. I don't have anywhere for any of my pieces to go. So I was like, okay, this is a little better. It's not. It's dead lost. It's dead lost. It's worse. But I try to play the best move, you know? I bring my knight out. I'm trying to develop my bishop. Maybe I'll bring my knight to the center. Maybe I'll start bringing my rooks over. And of course, Komodo plays the best move as well. Comes over here, threatens my pawn. I try to hold on to the pawn, but now my knight is pinned, and this is awkward. And I really don't want to trade pieces, but I don't have much say in the matter is the problem. If I go here, he'll take, I'll take back with the pawn, he'll take my pawn, I'm down another pawn, now I'm down 2 points of material. So I decide instead of blocking this, I'll play rook f8, defend my knight. He takes, I take back, cool. And I missed this. This is a scumbag move. This is a real scumbag move. And the point of this, I can't take this knight. I mean, I kind of have to, but I can't take the knight because my rook is still hit by the queen. If I take the knight, the queen takes my rook. And if I don't take the knight, the queen just takes my rook anyway, because now it's hit by the knight. And the queen's in. I can take the knight. It doesn't really matter. The queen is in. And the rook is going to come. It's going to be mate in a few moves. Now, the best move here would have been to block with the knight. I didn't do that. I was in a bit panic mode here. I was saying, okay, I need to bring my other rook to the party. I need to play something. And I allow this. And I didn't think it was necessarily mate. It is. The game is over. The game is completely over. And what I was thinking is, okay, he's going to go here. He's going to go here. I'll run my king. He can give me this check. I'll keep running my king. I don't know. Maybe he'll bring his rook over. I'll go here. He'll take my rook, but maybe I'll run my king. I'm playing against Komodo. There's no way he's going to blunder, but maybe I can get some sort of weird stalemate. Maybe I can extend the game a little. You know, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, no. He plays this first. And the difference is that this pawn covers g5. Even if I run this way, my king has no escape. Because if he had gone here first, and I had gone here, I do escape, right? It's still totally winning for white, but the computer takes a little longer to find mate. It's plus 64, right? Now it's mate in 12. Computer had to think a little bit. So instead of that, cool, calm, collected, slides the queen down to f7, and it's mate. It's mate. So I got demolished. I got absolutely demolished. There's nothing to say about that. I did my best, but in the end, I'm only human. Komodo is 3,200 rated. But the question today was, what does chess.com think its own bots are rated? So how did chess.com evaluate this one? We were 100 points off at first. We were at 250 actual rating, 350 expected. We were at 1,300 actual, 1,150 estimated, 1,900 actual, 1,700 estimated. This time we've got a 3,200 actual rating bot. 3050 is what chess.com called it. 150 points off. And I mean, yet again, my rating has just changed by another 500 points. Now I'm a 2,350. So I guess the conclusion here, chess.com is pretty close to thinking that the bots are the rating they are. We were only 200 points off at most in any of these, and that's only a single game. You know, over the course of multiple games, I'm sure it would have gotten even closer. And there is the one problem, though. What is up with my rating? Chess.com, what is up with this? You're giving all the bots accurate ratings. I have been everything from 850 to 2,350 today. What is going on here? But, you know, in the end, not too bad. Credit to chess.com. Their bot ratings are what they said they are, apparently. So I had fun checking that out. I had fun discovering this. kind of interesting that they're actually pretty close. I was expecting them to be a little further off than they were. And it's kind of interesting to see that it seems like my rating was kind of just drawn to whatever the bot rating was, you know? Because in the low rated bot games, I was close to where the bots were. In the high rated bot game, now I'm a 2350, right? So I don't know exactly how they do it, but it's interesting to see. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed and get out of here. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.